Hi everyone, my name is Binbin Pierce and I'm here to talk to you more about a new program we've developed called the ETH Certificate of Advanced Studies on Collaborative Decision Making Under Uncertainty. I work at the Department of Environmental System Science at the ETH Zurich, and today I'd like to answer 3 questions. Who has developed this particular Certificate of Advanced Studies? What does collaborative decision making under uncertainty actually mean? And what would you get out of it if you participated in this continuing education offering? So let's go through each of those questions. As for the who, I developed the curriculum along with 2 professors in the department, one of whom is Professor Michael Stauffacher. He's the co-director of the Transdisciplinarity Lab. And the other is Professor David Bresch, and he's the chair of Weather and Climate Risks. We all work in the Institute of Environmental Decisions and have decided that this course offering would integrate some of our research interests and what we think is important to communicate to society. So in addition to the 3 of us, a whole plethora of top experts in their fields will help us make this course a reality. We've gathered the top names in climate science and environmental science from across a lot of different fields. These are professors who are both within our own department. We also have, it's also very interdisciplinary. We also bring in cognitive science experts and also engineering to give us a very diverse perspective on uncertainty and how risk is dealt with in a lot of these different areas. So that's the who, but what about what we actually mean by this long title that we have called Collaborative Decision Making Under Uncertainty? Well, it turns out there's a reason why we chose this particular title. Each of these 3 terms indicate how we would like to teach the course, what methods we're going to use, and what's the themes we're going to deal with. So under collaborative, we mean that this course is really going to be focused on group work. We try to bring in a diverse group of people with diverse expertise, with different worldviews, in order to support mutual learning and in order to develop the solutions that are needed to confront very complex problems in the world. So that indicates the learning environment that we want to create in this course. The decision making indicates the type of methodologies that we want to bring in, and really the goal is to draw in from methods from a variety of disciplines to help us face these challenges together. So that means we draw in methods from design thinking, systems thinking, from psychology and decision heuristics, macro cognition, and also areas of work where they deal with expert knowledge. Those are the methods. And the uncertainty, under uncertainty, what we mean are we deal with themes that really have uncertainty at its core. That means the very timely topics of climate risks, sustainability, sustainable agriculture, dealing with infrastructure. All of these topics have in common that they have to deal with long-range uncertainties. So putting it all together, we see this particular course offering as a way of offering a unique set of learning environments and methodologies and the thematic context that we can really build these skills upon. And the driving question then, why have we put all these things together? The driving question really is, so what is effective decision making when neither the problem nor the solution are clearly defined? I don't think that anybody really knows the answer to this question yet. I mean, lots of methodologies have been developed, but how do we connect these methodologies to the way decisions are actually made in the real world? And that's a question, and that's what we know as researchers we can't do alone, and we need the help of people in different sectors in order to test these methods, in order to give us feedback on how we can improve on them. So you can imagine that this particular course is really a platform through which science and society can start creating a bridge to see what they can learn from one another. What we do on our side is give you that space, create a learning environment in which you could really ask questions and learn from each other. And what we can also offer is draw in different methods from across a variety of disciplines. And we can also offer you insights into the themes. But what really makes the course happen will be the people who join. and from the amount of time that the participants have with one another to learn from one another. And ultimately the goal is, we have in a lot of the problems that we have to confront today, like climate risks and climate change, a lot of unknown unknowns. I know this term has been used a lot. But I think the underlying assumption of this particular course offering is that those unknowns and the area of unknowns and unknowns can be minimized, or it can be reduced when we can tap into everyone's area of expertise, because what we know is all different, which means that somebody's unknown might actually be known to someone else. So this is sort of the approach that we want to take. So a bit about, so that was the what, and now we can perhaps talk a little bit more about how we actually plan to happen. It sounds very nice, a lot of fancy words, and it seems pretty ambitious. So how do we actually plan to engage with those topics? Well, the course is really divided into 9 modules. Each of these modules are oriented around a particular set of methodologies and a particular theme. And each of the professors that you've seen listed in the beginning of the presentation, one or two of them will come for each of these sessions and bring in and talk about their particular research project and how risk and uncertainty links to how they've designed that particular research topic. But in addition to that, we also have methodological inputs offered by myself, Michal, or David. And the way these modules are set up is that they're really meant to give inputs at the beginning, allow group work to sort of work on these inputs in the middle, and then by the end of the module, you'll be ready to take some of these ideas out for a test spin in your everyday work life. And that means it's set up for Fridays and Saturdays, and usually the inputs happen on Fridays, and then on Saturdays it's really set up so that you can start using and developing those inputs into something that's worthwhile for you. And then once you get into the real world, you start applying some of those concepts. And here's just what the modules are in more detail. So what we introduce the module, most of the times we want to integrate some of the insights that we've gotten from the previous module. We have inputs and discussions with the professors, and then we start working on and applying what these insights from the inputs mean for what you're trying to do in your work life, and plan for the real world integration of that knowledge. And as you'll see here, how that happens is that, and here are the dates also for each of the 9 modules, that there's time in between each module for you to take these ideas out for a spin in the real world. And there are some are longer periods in between and some are shorter. And you can see that in the beginning, towards the beginning of the course, it's really that we have quite a bit of intense input, and then it sort of lets up towards the end. And there are 9 modules, as mentioned before, and each of them are oriented around a set of methodologies. So systems thinking, macro cognition, mental models, design thinking, etc. And one way of conceptualizing this course design is that we start to, it's 2 double diamonds. One, at the beginning, the point is to elicit all the diversity of expertise that's in the room. We use this knowledge and experience to define specific challenges that we want to tackle in the CAS. And then by the end of the course, we really want to have created what we call strategy prototypes for addressing these challenges that have been identified. So really, over half of the course is you working on what matters to you. So oftentimes, I think in the work world, we're very much inundated with urgent problems that we have to deal with, tasks that we have to finish right away. And I think one of the benefits of this course might be that it gives you the space to work on problems that need a little bit more reflection, that need a little bit more time, that need input from other people and need collaboration. And it really, so instead of thinking of this, I think, CAS as just another thing to do on top of what you already have to do, is that it offers you actually a quite efficient way of answering that challenge that you never have enough time to answer. So I challenge anybody who think that, oh, this is going to take too much time, to really think that this is actually the best way to scratch that itch that you've always wanted to scratch, those tough questions that have always really interested you, but you just never had the time or structure to do it well. So I think this is one of the unique selling points of the CAS, is that it's not your traditional offering in which we as scientists and researchers offer you a set of techniques that you may or may not ever use again, so that you can get a diploma. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but the point is, this course is not that. The point of this particular CAS is that you use the methods that we offer you in real time, and you can offer us feedback on how those methods have worked or maybe not. And it is also a way for you to address the challenges that are really timely in your own work situation. So maybe this is a summary of what we think why you would want to take part in the CAS. First, I think you get an edge on knowing how to identify what really matters in the room. As in, I hope that one of the learning objectives that we arrive on is that when you come out of the CAS, you can really know how to identify the real problem in the room. And I think, and we focus on problem framing a lot in the CAS, because, I mean, you probably have this experience. A bunch of people get into the room and they immediately start talking about the solution to a problem. Nobody actually addresses the problem itself. And whatever solution that comes up, it never gets implemented, or if it gets implemented, it doesn't really work. And the reason for that is that we don't spend enough time on identifying the problem. So I hope that by the end of the course that the participants of our CAS are experts at identifying what the real problem is that should be dealt with and that should be prioritized. And it's also a way of dealing with complexity. So that's one of the approaches that we take. Another thing I think that's important is that we give you in this CAS time and structure for out of the silo thinking and long range thinking. Meaning that, and we experience this also in science, where we are often working with the same people who share the way that we think, and therefore we create blind spots of how to solve these big problems that really makes it necessary for people across different silos to work together. So we give you a space for that, and I think we shouldn't underestimate the impact of just having space and a structure for doing that. And also I think, and this is especially true for industry, but for many other sectors, that we focus on long-range thinking, that we give you methods not only to deal with, and mostly actually not to deal with short-term decision-making, because I think a lot of people who are already in middle to high management positions, they know how to do that really well. But the issue is, but how do we engage with complexity on a longer term? So instead of 2, 3, 4 years, how do we think in 5, 10, 20-year timeframes? And I think it's a rare advantage that for this CAS, you get to pick the brains of some of the top scientists in the world. I mean, it's not just that you sit there passively as an audience and listen to their brilliant presentations, which they are going to be brilliant, but we have structured this CAS so that you get to engage with them. So on the topic of uncertainty and making decisions, wouldn't you want to ask them, how do you do it? How do you, as a top expert in the field, how do you engage with uncertainty? Or do you not have to engage with uncertainty? Or how would you advise somebody to do that? Or maybe you've always been curious about how science deals with that. And how could you bring some of those approaches to your work? Or could it benefit your work? Or at least at a minimum, you understand how to interpret the science that's coming out, where especially when it's necessary in an organization to make decisions based on evidence. right? And this is exactly what the scientists are experts on. So you get to engage with some of the top minds in the world, point blank. And it's personally important for me that this is a safe environment to try new things, to fail forward. So remember what I told you about the strategy prototypes. It's really scary to not only think about and analyze what the problem is, but then to also offer a solution, right? And what we're saying is that by the end of the CAS, it's not that we all have the perfect solutions. But I think the value of the CAS is give you space to experience what it's like to offer that. Because what it means is you have to risk something. And I think that that experience itself is very enriching, not only as a professional, but personally. And in order for that to be possible, it has to be that you are in an environment where you take on the mindset that each time that I fail, I will learn something from that, and therefore I'm not afraid to do that. And I think it's only in that type of environment in which innovation occurs. So that's our approach to also innovation and creativity. Although that's not anywhere in the title, but that is embedded in the way that we're going to organize the course. And a little bit about what we are seeking in participants, because, and as you can tell already, the quality of this CAS is very dependent on you, on the participants, on how much the participants want to contribute back to the CAS. So, and I think what's really important is to have participants who have a sense of curiosity about the world. So that means they're willing to think and do things differently, but they also want to ask questions of others. They want to know how other people think about the world, and curious about what they can learn from them. So that's pretty essential. And it's also, I think, to have an ability to listen, offer constructive feedback. And I think we all know in the professional world how important that is for an organization to improve. And it's also the case for this course, that in order for us to learn from each other, it's really essential that giving constructive feedback is critical. Now, of course, there are other requirements. We really would like it if the participants have had some experience of strategic decision making, either project specific or at a sort of organizational level, to have 5 years of working experience, and to have a master's degree or the equivalent. Those are the sort of basic requirements. And so that's all I want to say that's new about what we are offering with the CAS. But as a summary, it's a certificate of advanced studies. Just a note for those who might be interested, you would be eligible for ETH alumni membership if you successfully complete the CAS. The approach for this CAS, though it might seem a little bit out there, it has been proven to a certain degree. It's based on an award-nominated teaching approach that we've carried out with our bachelor students, and now over 450 students have gone through that program. So we know that at least for our bachelor students, this has been, and we've seen them create very interesting prototypes towards environmental problems. So we know that it works on that level. And we hope to bring that methodology also to those who are already in practice. And also that this is a chance for our participants to have access and discuss with ETH senior scientists and professors. It offers 10 ECTS points. It will occur between March and October 2020 over 9 modules, all of which are 2-day long. In addition to that, there will be group work that's required of people. So outside of these in-class time, there will also be obligatory group work time. And also the cost, which we should not forget about, is 8,500 Swiss francs. So that's all the information I have for now. I'm very happy to answer any questions. And if you have any questions that you think of later, you're always welcome to contact me. Thank you very much for your time.